regular meeting of the Page County School Board. Mr. Payne?
Yes.
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 Yes. Please pause for a minute of silence as we prepare for the meeting tonight. Briley Painter join me up here. Get to be embarrassed a little bit. Good to take a picture. Mr. Overfelt's going to read it.
This evening's Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Briley Painter. Briley is an 8th grade student at Luray Middle School and is the daughter of Sharon and Ryan Painter. Briley is a member of the Luray Middle Track team and the Luray High School JV basketball and volleyball teams. Once a month during club day, Briley gives up her lunchtime to participate in our House Club. House Club is an opportunity for middle school students to mentor pre-K and first grade students next door at Luray Elementary School. A teacher remarked, Briley is an exemplary individual. She is a student in the classroom, a friend in the hallway, a teammate on the gym floor. She exudes kindness, generosity, and empathy to all who cross her path. I had the pleasure of having Briley in the classroom setting for all 3 of her middle school academic years. She models all the characteristics of what it means to be a bulldog: bravery, understanding, leadership, learner, determination, optimism, and gratitude. Briley is a passionate student and aims to always go above and beyond the assigned task. She is kind to all, and her smile is infectious to others. Briley, thank you for being a role model, for being kind, and for being willing to help when needed. Congratulations on being selected as a pledge leader for Luray Middle School. We are very proud of you. Would everyone please spread?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job. Thank you, Briley, and thank you for being patient.
I would like to say that she has a great last name.
Prejudiced.
You all are welcome to stay, or you are welcome to go enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Fox, do we have any agenda changes or additions?
I do not.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Overfelt and a second by Ms. Sullivan Smoot to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Overfelt?
Yes.
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 Madam Chairman, I'd like to certify that personnel matters discussed in closed session were of section 2.2-3711A1.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Ms. Sullivan Smoot and a second by Ms. Bryant to certify personnel matters discussed in closed session.
Mr. Payne?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Overfelt?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
With motion by Mr. Overfelt and a second by Ms. Bryant to approve the consent agenda.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Overfelt?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, Mr. Miller, Vice President of Parliamentary Law for the Virginia FCCLA. Welcome.
Good evening. I'm Joey Miller. I'm a junior at Page County High School, and I'm also currently serving as the 2024-2025 Vice President of Parliamentary Law for Virginia FCCLA. During this year, I have been given lots of amazing opportunities. Some of these include traveling to Seattle for the national conference and serving as a voting delegate while there. I've visited schools across Virginia to advocate for FCCLA. I've attended the FCCLA College Day at Radford University, where I presented on a variety of topics. I attended the Fall Leadership Institute in Orlando, where I learned about leadership from Disney cast members. I helped plan the 2025 State Leadership and Recognition Conference, which is coming up in April. And I recruited 17 state officer candidates as part of my state officer duties. So I would now like to highlight some of the accomplishments of all of our county's chapters so far this year. So the Luray High School FCCLA has been busy this year meeting with students during 13 club days. They have completed all of the FCCLA national programs in addition to having an FCCLA membership celebration during the first week of October and celebrating National FCCLA Week and CTE Month. Members have also participated in several Virginia FCCLA contests this year. They attended the FCCLA Day at the State Fair along with FCS College Days at George Mason University. Members have been working hard to raise money for the chapter with a dog bone fundraiser, a Valentine's Day fundraiser, and a Super Bowl fundraiser. Members provided an apple nacho bar to celebrate our support of educators. They worked with LMS FCCLA to conduct a trunk or treat and also walked in the Luray Christmas Parade with LMS FCCLA. 11 students from Luray High School plan to attend and compete at the Virginia FCCLA State Leadership and Recognition Conference. This year, Luray Middle School's FCCLA chapter has grown to an impressive 185 members, making a significant impact through community service and leadership. Their chapter is focused on giving back to the community, starting with a successful food drive that collected over 800 items to support Beatles Blessing Box and their school's food pantry. To help those in need during the colder months, they also organized a winter clothing drive, ensuring families in our community have access to warm clothing. Beyond donation efforts, their chapter played a key role in organizing a community trunk or treat event. Partnering with Luray High School FCCLA, the National Junior Honor Society, the National Honor Society, PACA, local fire and police departments, and high school sports teams, they helped bring the community together with 30 decorated cars for families to visit and receive candy, creating engaging carnival-style games, face painting, and more. Additionally, they joined forces with the National Junior Honor Society to take part in the Luray Holiday Parade, spreading cheer and representing their school with pride. Their members also had the exciting opportunity to attend the Virginia State Fair, where they created a project promoting FCCLA and the importance of recycling. While there, members met the state officer team, learned about leadership opportunities within FCCLA, and of course, had some fun riding the fair's many attractions. In addition to their chapter's collective efforts, FCCLA is proud of the individual accomplishments of their members. Harmony Houston took the initiative to design, develop, and publish a website for their chapter, enhancing communication and engagement among members. She'll be using this website as her star event for competition at the national level. This year's achievements reflect the dedication and hard work for Luray Middle School FCCLA members, and look forward to continue our mission of leadership and service with their participation at the state and national leadership and recognition conferences. At Page County Middle School FCCLA, their chapter has reached over 160 members this year. Their members have made a difference in our community and their school by partnering with many different partners like Choices and Brianna Taylor, a student from PCHS who is fighting breast cancer. They hosted a hygiene product drive and collected over 150 products for them to provide them with supplies that they might not be able to access, like shampoo, conditioners, feminine care products, deodorants, and more. They raised $350 for Brianna Taylor by hosting a winter snowball dance with a raffle for a Christmas cookie basket and low-sugar drinks. They've taken 2 very exciting field trips this year so far, where members have been able to develop leadership skills, meet new people, explore new places, and get out of their comfort zones. In October, they took 22 members to the Virginia State Fair for FCCLA Day. Students created projects made of recycled or repurposed materials, and PCMS had 2 winners, Avery Shiflett in the home category and Lizzie Wood in the clothing category. They also traveled to Radford University with 7 members who got to explore the Department of Design. Also during October, they participated in their school's trunk or treat, where they made the house from up out of recycled materials and handed out family bags to participants. The bags included word searches, coloring pages, a nature walk card, a scavenger hunt, a fall bucket list, some small seasonal toys, and candy. They did this for our Families First project to promote families spending more time together, especially outside. During FCCLA week, they recognized their members for all they do and being leaders in their school and community. They also played FCCLA trivia and did an emblem hunt around the school to win prizes. Originally, more was planned, but because of the snowy weather, they had to reschedule some events. The week after, they hosted a faculty and staff luncheon to support our educators and staff. They decorated the classroom, made a variety of soups and desserts just to say thank you for all that they do. Now they're preparing for their next adventure, the 2025 State Leadership and Recognition Conference. They are taking 12 members to Virginia Beach in April, and they're competing in a variety of competitive events. This year would not be as successful as it has been without the hard work and dedication of the Page County Middle School students, and they look forward to continuing their adventure as we finish out the year. My chapter, the Page County High School chapter, has really embraced the National FCCLA theme, Dare to Dream, this year. We have 346 members in our chapter this year. We've helped our community and school through a variety of activities. In August, we had a booth at the Page Valley Fair with a portion of our proceeds going to Brianna Taylor, a sophomore at our school who's fighting breast cancer. In September, we hosted a membership week to recruit students and attended the state fair in Doswell, Virginia. One of our members, Chloe Good, won the FCCLA poster design contest. October was a very busy month for our chapter. We attended the Fall Leadership Institute in Orlando, Florida, and College Day at Radford University. We also hosted a breast cancer awareness door decorating contest and partnered with the town of Shenandoah to hand out books and promote early literacy at their trunk or treat event. In November, we partnered with the National Honor Society, FFA, and FBLA to put on the PCPS annual Veterans Day breakfast. Atari Good won first place in the FCCLA Knowledge Online Challenge Test, and I won third place in the FCCLA Knowledge Online Challenge Test. We also spearheaded a project around the election called Political Politeness. The purpose of this project was to increase polite conversations during the elections. In December, we collected 750 pounds of food for Page 1 in Shenandoah through our Season of Sharing food drive. We also partnered with Stanley Elementary for their Winterfest. We brought 20 volunteers to help with the event, and we dressed up in costumes, read to the children, and helped them write letters to Santa. We also visited Arlington National Cemetery and laid wreaths during Wreaths Across America. In January, we recruited 18 members to attend the State Leadership and Recognition Conference that will happen in April. In February, despite the weather, we celebrated FCCLA Week and had a pop-up sweet shop for Valentine's Day, with part of the proceeds going to Brianna Taylor. We are currently preparing our members for competition in Virginia Beach in April, and are looking forward to attending the National Leadership Conference in Orlando, Florida in July. At this meeting, I will be running for National FCCLA office. All of the Page County FCCLA chapters would like to thank the board and central office staff for your continued support for our programs. February is National Career and Technical Education Month, and we wanted to express our gratitude and update you on the accomplishments so far this year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Comments?
I just want to know what we can do to help you with your national office. I think you ought to get it.
Yeah. I've already got my paper signed.
Well done, well done.
Yes.
It's a great community. Yeah, I mean, its level of participation is wonderful. And hello, Mr. Freeman. I used to be our chair on the board. Good to see you. So great work. Thank you.
Mr. Rittenhour and Ms. DeMoe?
Well, good evening, board members. As February is School Board Appreciation Month, I'd be remiss if I didn't express our sincere appreciation for the continued support of our school board. Your support and your contribution to our community at large is really instrumental in the success of our students, and so thank you. It was just a mere 10 months ago that I had the opportunity to stand before you for the first time, having been newly appointed to be a part of the Page County team. And at that point, the first thing that I think I said to the board was, we have so much to be proud of. And so I'm going to borrow my own words and tell you again, we have so much to be proud of at Luray Middle School. And it is an honor, it's a pleasure to be with you to share some of what good is happening a few streets over. So I'm going to share information, some data that isn't brand new to you, but I want to give you some behind the scenes look at some of our data. We are very proud that Luray Middle School for this year is fully accredited. That is quite an accomplishment. Data from 2 years ago, there were some indicators where we were still in the process of building. We had some level 3 indicators. And last year, through lots of hard work and dedication among our faculty, staff, and the hard work of our students, we're fully accredited this year. If we dig a little bit into our English data, our English results are the compilation of our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade reading SOL test. And you can see over the last 3 years, we have continued that upward trend. Last year, with a 72% pass rate among all our reading tests. And in the area of math, we made significant gains from our 3-year average and are at an 80% pass rate. We are now exceeding the division and state pass rates at Luray Middle School in the area of math. In science, The eighth grade science test is really a huge endeavor. It is the compilation of information students learn in sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade. And this was a noted area of concern for us as we, again, we've continued an upward trend, but we knew coming into this school year that we would need to continue our focus and make some changes and really drill down in our science work. Last year, we reduced our failure rate by 10%, which gave us a level 2 performance indicator for science. And I will give you a spoiler alert, and it's on the screen, that this year, at this point, having first semester testing under our belt, we're at a 73.68% pass rate for our science SOL compared to 62% last year overall. So we are making strides in the right direction. Also, with our eighth grade civics and econ SOL test, we continued our high performance last year with a 77% pass rate. While this isn't a part of accreditation, history is not a part of state accreditation last year, it's still important to our staff and to our students. And so we're very proud of where we landed, again, above the division and above the state average for our pass rate. So where are we now? I alluded to this a moment ago with our fall testing under our belt. And you can see on the screen, the blue bars are last year's test results for the same time we are last year. So it's just semester 1. The red is this year. In our science test, we made a 28% increase in our pass rate for first semester. So again, comparing where we were last year. And in civics, our pass rate has increased over 4%. So how did we get there? And I will be careful to say I'm talking about eighth grade because that's the data, the fresh data, the exciting new data that we have to share with you this evening. But I want you to understand that the good things that are happening are not just in eighth grade. They're happening on all 3 floors of our building, throughout all the classrooms, throughout all of our programs. But we're very fortunate that we're offering high quality Tier 1 instruction throughout our building. We have high quality teachers doing high quality work all the time and getting our students where they need to be. We have implemented this year a program allowing small group remediation and RTI time in the middle of our day for students across cores that need that extra support to get them where they need to be. And along with that, for students who don't need that support, we've also offered enrichment at that same time, again, to help us address some, our advanced pass rates as we look towards our new accreditation system as well. We have had incredible collaboration among our eighth grade team. They've given the opportunity for our science and civics teachers, since we were talking about that data. And again, we only have that data now because those 2 classes switch. So this the data represents half of our eighth grade class right now. Half of them took science and half took civics. But we had incredible work. As it came time for SOL testing and retakes, our eighth grade team worked with our science and civics teacher to make sure that they had the time and the resources, again, to remediate and get those students ready for their tests. We also implemented at the end of last year, and then again this year, seeing success in what we were doing, some spiraling with our teachers, where we had our 6th grade. I told you that science test is a culmination of 6th and 7th and 8th grade. So we had our 6th grade teacher go into 8th grade and our 7th grade teacher go into 8th grade to give a refresher, to give an opportunity for those students to dust the cobwebs off the shelves of their learning and be ready for that 8th grade test. We've also been strategic in how we plan our testing. Ms. Damone is our testing coordinator for the building and has done a fantastic job at making sure that our schedule is set up for success for our students. We offer, when students take the test, if they land in that 375 to 399 range, they have the opportunity for an expedited retake. And we've been able to make sure that the teachers have the data, from very specific data from the first testing scenario, so that then they're poised to help give that really targeted remediation for those things that the students struggled with individually, and then they're ready to very quickly take the expedited retake. And we had a very successful outcome with our expedited retakes this year, again, increasing our number of passes. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Damone to tell you about the real reason that we come to work every day, and you're going to get to see what things our students are doing.
So this year we've been really intentional about celebrating our students and our staff. You can see we've celebrated our IXL leaderboards, which are students who have risen to the top of mastery of skills as well as number of questions correct. We also celebrated our Lexia champions, students who are checking off units in reading and writing and literacy. We also celebrated our staff for using these tools to help monitor student growth throughout the school. So we move on to chronic absenteeism. I'll tell you about our attendance team. We have our attendance coordinator, Mr. Pressgraves, and our attendance support person, Mr. Shank. Mr. Pressgraves makes our daily attendance calls and connects with families on a day-to-day basis. And Mr. Shank takes care of our attendance meetings and our attendance intervention plans. And they work really well together to communicate with families. Again, this year, we had our attendance celebration breakfasts for students with a 95 or better attendance, and those continue to be a great success. We also have put into place some attendance support, such as weekly SEL lessons, our care closet, and Beatles Blessing Box to help support students with basic needs and their families as well. And we've been referring families to Care Solace to help connect them with additional resources. Our chronic absenteeism rate has continued to go down each year. At the end of last year, we were at a rate of 17.43%. At this time, we have 18 students who are above the 17 number of absences for chronic absenteeism. So our current rate is 5.8% this school. Here are some photos from our attendance breakfasts. In Q1, we had 223 students invited because they had 95% or better attendance. And in Q2, we had 217 students who were invited for 95% or better attendance. In Q2, we also invited teachers who had 95% or better attendance. So it was a true celebration. We have partnered with Rileyville Baptist Church. They bring the pancake breakfast, and Mr. Rittenauer has begun to call it B-Hop, the Bulldog House of Pancakes, because we have pancakes that morning.
I like that.
That's a neat idea.
We work hard to engage students, families, and the community. We begun this year with our open house, followed by our trunk or treat that Mr. Miller was speaking about. We partnered with LES and FCCLA put that together for us. We had our fall play, Supervillains Anonymous, and then our school counselors and our school resource officers worked together for Red Ribbon Week to have Plant the Promise. So they planted red tulips across the front of our school. So this spring, we will see that hard work bloom. We had our spooky concert for Halloween and our Halloween dance, a winter concert, and then several of our organizations participated in the Luray Parade. And we just recently had our Sweetheart Dance for Valentine's Day, which was a great success. Here you can see our drama and music programs working hard and collaborating with other schools. There's also some photos of Miss Fitzwater, our 6th grade English teacher's book tasting, where students were exposed to different books and genres of literature. Our art club painted a mural in Luray, and we have some pictures here of Plant the Promise, as well as our turkey teacher and FCCLA fundraiser. This is Miss Hill, our turkey teacher this year. Finally, some pictures of our groups who were participating in the Luray Christmas Parade. NJHS and FCCLA were the Polar Express, and our band provided some musical entertainment.
So you had the opportunity to meet Briley earlier, who's one of our students, and we love to have the opportunity to showcase their talent and their hard work. And so we want to take the opportunity to extend an invitation to you, our board, and our community to join us as our Luray Middle School Drama Club puts on their production of Shrek, the musical junior, which will debut in our auditorium May 30th through June the 1st. Again, it's a pleasure to be able to share these celebrations with you, and we would be happy to answer any questions you might have for us.
Good job.
RPI participation, not every student.
That's correct. So the RTI groups are meant to be small, 13 students or smaller, and really give teachers the opportunity to work with those small groups on targeted remediation. Those groups do change. So it's possible that a student may be in RTI for math in one cycle and then move on to English or whatnot, or we'll go to enrichment. Students who don't need that time are in an enrichment. They're still working on things like Lexia and IXL, but they're also exploring other interest areas like cooking or art or weightlifting.
When you have, how many RTIs do you have?
Each of our core teachers has an RTI group, so there are 18 groups, 6 per grade level.
I think one of the things that I always found interesting in students, what they have, I thought it's an homework. And then I go to the library and pick this up and kind of a 30 assignment together. Oh, how does that work with the RTI? Is the teacher responsible for that in the RTI? To look at those, what they have outstanding?
Not necessarily. So, but that brings up a really good point. In the middle of our day, we have a portion of the day called prime time. Prime time is 3 sections. There's RTI/enrichment, there's advisory, and there's lunch. Advisory is a nice time where grade levels move through perhaps, so Monday's usually SEL, and then Tuesday is first block, second core on Wednesday, and third core on Thursday. That's a time that can be used for making sure that students have all of their work up to date, checking grades, things like that. RTI is really about finding deficits and helping build skills. And we do use, Mr. Bone was talking about using Lexia, IXL. We use some of those tools in that RTI.
Yeah, I would encourage that we continue, or at least go and verify. We kind of think about if there's things that maybe you think you missed the opportunity to verify with the student. I'm not putting it in school, I'm just saying all schools throughout our system, I think we really need to be verified. Because it doesn't, I found it a couple times. Good.
So I really like the math numbers. I think they were really, that was very impressive. Really, I'm glad to see that happen. We need to spend more time on our reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's just me. You know, I like mathematics and science. In the issue of the science, you said that you swap in the science and civics. Is that half day each, or how does that work?
So for the first semester, we had our 7th grade teacher go in one day, one
Right.
full day, and the 6th grade teacher in one full day. And it really is just an opportunity to refresh right before that SOL test. So we just do, because we honor the fact that the 6th grade teacher still needs to be in their classroom teaching the 6th
Sure.
grade content 7th grade.
So that's just the science side, but you said that you're doing, and then what happens on the civics side? I guess I was confused as to what you meant by that.
Right, I understand. So civics is a standalone test. It tests just the information from that one grade level.
Right.
The science test tests all 3 grade levels.
But are the students taking both civics and science?
They will, but only in one semester. So half of our
That's what I'm
students are
getting to.
taking
Okay.
science first semester and half civics, and then they swap.
As much as I like math and science, I still think civics is really, really important in our nation.
Absolutely.
I heard a statistic the other day that immigrants actually do better on civics tests than our high school students do, and middle school, and I believe it, because we haven't done a really good job overall in our nation of keeping up with teaching civics, social science. But I'm glad to see that we are here. So good job.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Fox?
Yes, I cannot compete with the Bulldog House of Pancakes, but I will try. So it is, huh?
Pancakes?
Yeah, did I say pancakes? Hopefully I did. But it is, February is School Board Appreciation Month. So we just want to take a moment to thank you all, because most of the time you are thanking other people. So it's our opportunity to say thank you to you all. And as you can see around the room, each school has made a little gift for you to enjoy. There's a gift on the table for you, but just more than that, it's just a thank you for the advocacy that you do. Many of you went to Richmond. You're talking all the time with people who are influential in budgets or in policy or in legal matters. You're there out in the community, you're attending events, you're supporting our schools. You're here when we have meetings. It's rare that you all aren't present for meetings. And there are a lot sometimes, especially when other things are going on or there's situations that evolve. So we just wanted to take an opportunity tonight to say thank you to you all, let you know that we do appreciate each of you. We appreciate what you bring to the table for it, and to say thank you to the schools and the kids for taking time to create the posters and things for you. So thank you for all that you guys do.
Thanks for the posters. They're
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
I think kids did a great job.
I think this
I like
one,
that one.
the one back here from Springfield, it says it best. What you do is bananas. Yes, they nailed it.
That's fun.
Ms. Dudley, student board member update.
Good evening. Happy to make my update from where I had.
For you, she can do it.
Not even sure these are wrong.
So I'm going to start again how I did last month. Doing a brief agenda with going over the club and with any other like this. Starting with club. I only chose to go with 3 clubs because we're still getting in the, like, after having that big long break. After having that big long break, they're taking a little bit slower to get back into it. So we're going to start with National Honor Society. And the big thing that they're working on is the blood drive that students 16 and up can sign up for. And the NHS members are also able to sign up to do jobs around to help out. Originally, the date was set for February 11th, but that ended up being a snow day, of course. And so now it's March 24th. Next is Tri-M, which is our Music Honor Society. We've been drafting sponsorship letters to send out to people for our talent show. And I don't currently know the set date of that, but once we figure it out, I'll be sure to spread the word because I think it's a really great representation of the students at the school. Next is the SCA. They are, of course, always busy, especially with like the postseason games for our winter sports, specifically the basketball games. They've just been making signs for the games, making student section themes, stuff like that. And they also even held a pep rally before the Page County game, maybe a week and a half ago. And those are all pictures from the pep rally. And now on to extracurriculars. These are all the winter sports that are still going. Starting with the boys basketball. They are currently, right now, playing Buckingham over at Buckingham. And whoever wins this is advancing into the region championship. Earlier in the week, they defeated Page to advance to tonight's game. Thought I'd throw that in there. And they're currently holding a record of 18-7. And now for our girls basketball team, they are also advancing in the region tournament. They're playing Sewage Draft tomorrow, and they played Strasburg earlier the week and won against them. And they are currently holding a record of 9-13. Now for indoor track, they have a lot of people going to the states meet this year. It's really impressive. Those will take place both Wednesday and Thursday of next week at Liberty University. These are all the state finalists. We have Anna Wood, and then in the parentheses is all their things that they qualified for. We have Anna Wood, Amelie Kramer, Isabella Rysdeck, Maya Jenkins, Christina McLean, Allison Shores, Lucy Curley, Zoe Vines, Davy Johnson, Asmani Jackson, and James Farrow. Really strong girls team this year. Now for the spring sports. This was the first official week of spring sports, so all of them are having their tryouts. Baseball and softball, both of their first scrimmages will be away against Stanton High School on March 7th. JV will be home at Bulldog Field, which is for baseball, and LHS for softball. Now for track, outdoor and indoor track are practicing together currently.
And their first scrimmage will be at Page County High School on March 12th. And then for boys soccer and girls soccer, both of their first scrimmages will be against Nelson County on March 13th. The varsity boys will be away and the varsity girls will be home at Bulldog Field. And it's still unknown whether there will be 2 JV teams or not. Like last year they did the co-ed teams. I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to end up doing this year again. And now for the extracurriculars, we have band and choir. We have been preparing for assessment, which is pretty much our grade. We go to, maybe it's Harrisonburg High School, and we get graded for our music. This is March 6th or 7th. And then both band and choir are also in preparation for music in the parks at Busch Gardens, which is very exciting. And then the last event will be our spring concert, which there's not a date yet. And now for speech and debate. We had our region tournament last Saturday where we had most of our team place 3rd or higher, which means we advance into the super region tournament, which is this Saturday. The students competing in that are Mia Meyer, me, Caitlin Scott, Ray Hagan, Maddie Maddox, Evie King, Lily Jenkins, Cora Whiteside, and Zero Pure. And then to secure a spot at states, you must place 3rd or higher again. And during this time of year, as opposed to in the winter, speech and debate have completely separated. So the debate team has their first event in the middle of March. And now for other, just the miscellaneous events, juniors and seniors, I forgot to correct that, but they're being given permission slips for a job fair field trip that will be held at Laurel Ridge, their Luray campus, which is really cool. It's just where they can go and get exposure to the interview process, resume building, things like that. And then yesterday we held an elective fair for grades 9th through 11th, which is where the different electives were able to set up in the auditorium and the students could go around. And then there's ASVAB testing March 4th for 11th and 12th graders, and there's also SAT testing in March. So, yeah, that's what I have for you guys tonight.
Thank you. You guys have been busy, even
Yes.
with the weather. Good job.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Good luck on the upcoming state.
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Jeffries, procurement plan for school food authority?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I come before you tonight with a draft procurement plan specifically for child nutrition programs. In going through the process, the state has clarified that we need some additional details specific to our child nutrition programs based off of federal guidelines. And so although the division has policies DJ for small purchasing and DJF for purchasing procedures, which clearly state our thresholds locally for our various things, and also that we use the Virginia Public Procurement Act, there does need to be some additional detail added specific for child nutrition programs. So this particular document has been modified to be specific to Page County Public Schools, but include those other requirements. We were meeting those requirements, but we just didn't have it on paper that we were following those requirements. So I'm welcome to answer any questions that you might have, but I'm hoping that we can get approval to put this to action at the next board meeting.
In favor?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Dr. Huber, Ms. Baker, PCPS post-grad program?
Hey, don't be bashful.
I think we're waiting, maybe. Yeah,
We're waiting for our students.
Our students are going to come in. If
Sorry,
you all
okay.
can
Oh,
just
good. Good.
give us a second, they're going to join us.
We like students.
Yeah, a lot.
You know.
Gonna find out where Sebastian is playing hooky tonight.
He's probably busy.
Probably overscheduled himself.
He's probably working on the motor somewhere.
I think I'm using that, right?
Thank you.
All right, so while we get set up, good evening, members of the board, Dr. Fox, and members of the community. I'm really excited for this presentation for an instructional update this evening regarding our postgraduate program, which is titled Next. So can't be more proud of our team from an instructional side and special education team as well. And more importantly, our students and staff who are just going to share some information with you all in the community about what we're doing for postgraduate education and plans moving forward. So thank you all for being here. And this is a friendly group, everybody. So feel free to contribute, and thank you so much for being here. And so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Okay, hello. My name is Lisa Brown. I work for Page County Schools, and I do transition for all of Page County for students in special education. But this year, we're kind of piloting a new option for our postgraduates. So I wanted to share that with you. And I wanted to, I had 2 students volunteer to come along with me. So would you like to introduce yourself? So there are 2 other students in the program, and there's also an assistant, and her name's Megan Barker, and she has jumped right in and is with us to help be active in the community. So we've had postgrad programs for a long time. That's one of our mandates in special education, is to provide services through age 22 to certain students who qualify. So that piece in itself isn't new, but this year we have pulled this particular option out of the high school to be more community-based and to try to prepare more for adult life. So next, we've decided to call it Next Page. We visited other postgraduate programs in the area. I visited them myself, and then at the beginning of the year, we decided to go as a class to visit some to get some ideas of what we would like our program to look like too. So it is a post-secondary option for students with IEPs. I say option because it's not the only option. It really depends on the needs of the student and what their IEP team agrees about. It is for students age 18 through 22 who have not earned a standard or advanced diploma. So the transition job I do is for any student 13 and up who has an IEP. We have a plan that we work into their IEP that talks about what they want to do after they graduate, what kind of education they would need, what kind of classes they need to take while they're here so that they can be prepared when they leave. So the purpose of the 18 to 22 is because they don't have that standard diploma. How can we work on these employment skills, these independent living skills to better prepare them to go out in the world? We focus on skills needed to transition to adult life. And the IEP program and placement is based on student needs and goals. Our program components. Student-directed collaborative programming. So we make a lot of choices. We don't have bells. We don't have other classes. We're together all day. So we do a lot of voting, right, about what we want to do. We really think about what each individual student is interested in. And that's one of the pluses of having an assistant, too, is that we can really cater their experiences to whatever they're planning to do when they leave Page County schools. We go into the community. So this year we have had transportation has worked with us. So we have access to a van so we can all travel together. So we can do a lesson and then we can go to Walmart and we can make our purchases. We can scan them and we can bag them and we can head back and make something, right? We do career exploration and work-based learning. And we do independent living skills like cooking, budgeting, hygiene, and leisure. And we also connect to agencies that might be helpful for while they're here or after they leave school, including DARS, Northwestern, CSB, and Access Independence. Access Independence is new. They're out of Winchester, and we're hoping they come and do some classes on self-advocacy for us in the spring. So now Noah and Naomi are going to show you some of the things that we do. Oh, I had one more. So we came up with the logo with ChatGPT. So, and Naomi likes it because it has a road in it, right? Yeah. The other programs we visited all had names for their post-grad program, and so we talked about what ours could be and what it could include. I included this slide because it's from a conference I went to a couple years ago on transition, and I thought that while we have the goals for employment and independent living, like it really comes down to what makes life meaningful. So we want people to feel valued, we want them to be part of their community, we want them to have choices and options and feel independent. So now we're going to switch. You all come here so you can see. You can get here. So we learned real life work skills. So what's happening in those pictures?
The first picture is me working.
And what are you doing there?
Starting.
Yeah.
And then the one in the middle is one of our friends at Kenneth Tom, Logan. He's working at New Elementary. Yeah. And tell her that one.
The third one is me working on the pallet jack.
Yeah, Amy was excited. She learned how to use that pallet jack. She had to drive it and back it up, right, Amy?
That's awesome.
And Logan is doing that. We've been doing a work-based learning experience with Luray Elementary School, where he's been doing custodial assistant work. And he loves to clean, which is a plus. And he's been doing a great job there. We are very active volunteers in our community, as Ms. Gordon knows. During first semester, we tallied it up, and they volunteered 138 and a half hours.
Wow.
That's a lot of time. So let's talk about what these pictures
The
are.
one that's in the right corner, that's me, Naomi, repping present with Wesley Brown Christmas.
Yeah. So we actually watched a video about how to wrap presents, and we practiced it, and we got those presents wrapped and delivered them. Which one do you?
And the first one was when we made duffel bags.
Yeah, so the top right corner, we helped with the school board office making duffel bags with hygiene items and clothes, and then Ms. Seekers took us out to lunch, so thank you for that.
Hey.
They were a big help. Very big help.
Noah, which one do you want?
The one that Catherine's at,
Yeah.
she's helping open some kid open their lunch.
Yeah, so that was a nice offshoot of the custodial assistant, is that we started doing some help at the lunch, especially for pre-K and kindergartners who need a lot of help with opening things. And so that's been fun as well. And this one,
And then we made bags.
those are the pack of breakfast bags. So we have a room full of breakfast items to bag up.
They are an amazing help. We appreciate all of the bags that they stuff all of the time.
So in the last picture, you could kind of see where we're wrapping the presents. We did change, we pulled out of the high school this year, and we've set our classroom up to be kind of like a house. So we have a kitchen area and a living room area. And so part of that has been furnishing it and deciding where things hang and what to do. So do you want to describe the picture?
I'll just say.
Okay.
The one on the very right is me putting up a picture of a sign.
Yeah.
And in this middle is Logan hammering.
Yeah.
And then the third one was Catherine making the dirt reading.
Yeah. That was Noah's birthday treat. We've collaborated with JMU's student nursing program. So they've come to our classroom to do lessons. The other plus of that is that they are actually the same age as our students, so it's a good opportunity for socialization. So we build in the lesson, and then we have time at the end to play a game or to do some other kind of activity together. They've eaten lunch together, right?
Yep.
So the picture on the right, which one of you? That's the one.
We were at the clinic.
And what did you do there?
Getting a checkbook.
Yeah, so they got to do a doctor's appointment all by themselves, which they haven't really done before, where they had to answer questions and check in by themselves and do things that they might not do, by themselves usually. And then the picture with Catherine. Do you want to say that?
That was when we were doing food.
Well, we were doing medication.
Good job.
That's good.
Right? Yeah. Oh, you're saying we're in the same picture.
All good.
And then we try to build in opportunities for leisure and socialization, which is the challenge of being this age and figuring out where to find peers. So that's why we have reached out to other programs. The bottom picture, which one is that? Happening there.
The Halloween party.
That's one where we actually were invited by the Front Royal program, which is called Elements, to their Halloween party. And so we've done a few different activities with them. We actually invited them to the clinic with us too, so they came to that. So we've done some back and forth. What are the other pictures?
Me and Naomi giving us puzzle.
Yeah.
And being one of our teachers doing that tour.
Do you want to say the last one?
And Catherine and Logan reading the book.
So, page. So I do want to say a couple of thank yous. So Ellen has been great about being, having a vision for the program and then giving us a lot of freedom to create it. So I'm very thankful for that. We've gotten a lot of support from maintenance because this was trailer hadn't been used for a little bit, so it's needed some help, and they've been great about doing that. Transportation with the vehicle, that is a game changer for being able to get up and go. We're kind of located on the campus of Luray Middle, and they've been very welcoming to us as well. So, and Ms. Clark is still officially in charge of us, and she's very good about helping with things that we need as well. We actually have a vending machine at Luray Middle School that we purchased a few years ago that we stock, and then we use that money. We do inventory, and we use that money for things we want to do in the community. So, is there anything else? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Don't run off yet. So to our young adults, thank you all very much. You did a great job.
You're welcome.
And
Oh.
no, you're good. And to our team, one of the things we really continue to stress and focus on is when we talk instruction, it's all kids, right? And all adults that are involved in our system. And we work shoulder to shoulder with each other. So it makes me proud to see our instructional team shoulder to shoulder with our special education team across the board, because that's what it takes to do good things for not only our youngest, but our oldest as well. And I'm so proud of you all and what you're doing. And I hope you know that.
I'm proud of them for coming.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
And then Miss Baker, thank you for your leadership of the department. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to share.
No, I really didn't. I'm just super excited about the program, and it's under great leadership. She's really taken it and pushed it to a whole new level for Page County, and I can really see this growing, no matter who's in the leadership seat or who's in the philosophy for us.
Is there any needs that you all have right now? Things that you're looking for?
Well, it's funny because we had a wish list on our wall that we made together, and the maintenance staff was in there fixing our heating system and saw it. And so they're actually saving a kitchen they're pulling out of another building and planning to put that in our space over the summer. So
Great.
It's really nice to kind of see those pieces too. We've had a lot of donations of things, but right now we're okay, but it's good to know that we would have some folks to ask if we.
It's a good chance to, if you sure you don't want to
Yeah,
ask
you're
for something.
Great opportunity.
Never miss an opportunity like this. You got the floor.
I just want to say, this whole year, each school has come and highlighted so many things. This was absolutely wonderful. And you are to be, everybody that's involved with this, what a great opportunity for the students, but for our community.
Absolutely.
And this needs to be blown up and put out there, not literally, I mean, make news of it. I'm sorry. It needs to be communicated. Let me reword that. I'm sorry.
Marketed, advertised.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
About it.
Well, I can't say enough and I'll stop because I don't want to get in trouble. Bottom line is, job well done. And I'm excited for what these young people are getting and what you've accomplished. Great
Yeah,
job.
really nice.
I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And you young folks have shown resiliency and self-confidence from you. It's wonderful. Proud of you.
Yep.
Keep up the good work.
Absolutely.
Thanks. They have one more year too.
Yeah, great, great.
Right.
They get to enjoy the kitchen.
Well, come back and tell us what happens.
Yeah, with the kitchen.
Give us an
Yeah,
update.
what you're cooking in
Yeah.
the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
all.
Right.
Thank you.
Great job, y'all.
That was pretty, that was pretty amazing.
That was great.
I
Dr.
didn't even,
Cox, good luck following that.
I mean, I feel like we should just adjourn.
Good job, Queen.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you, good night.
We're going to talk budget after that. Yeah.
Can we just take a pass?
And on
Paul.
a high note.
Hey!
I just want to say real quick too, before we move on to the next thing, they took a very daunting task that I was not sure of how we were going to manage, packaging bags and stuff for students when we received a lot of grant funding and spent it very quickly and had a building full of things and ran with it. I wasn't even sure really what I was asking them to do when we started, and they planned it, and they said, we need tables the next time, and so they came back and they did a lot of good work for us. So then it was a lovely treat to get to take them out to lunch and reward them for that. And they were busy that day as well. They had been to page one. They came to eat lunch with me. They were going back to put furniture together for their living space. So they are doing a lot in their days that they are.
Creating creating productive adults.
Absolutely.
It's so incredible. That's fantastic.
Getting that thing.
I am very
Sorry.
appreciative.
You just keep
to
sticking
that.
there.
I'm sorry.
Do we need to move you from the table?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to we have to get you a new IEP.
Yeah.
No.
No,
Great.
right.
Now, will they have their own graduation, so to speak, when all this is over? Right, right, okay. So this is in addition to, gotcha. Okay, I understand.
Where is the location?
Right behind Murray Middle.
Between the two
schools
schools.
and the trailer with the new
Okay.
walkway.
Yeah.
Could we give them like a certificate of accomplishment later on, maybe, or something? Or some little award for completing? Yeah. I'm sure.
That would be good, yeah. Very good.
It is good. They helped me. I mean, when we got, because page one got funding so we could give breakfast items to our porch visit families. But they order them monthly. And I was like, I don't know. I don't have time to pack these. And Lisa contacted me and she's like, we'll pack them. And so every month now they're packing breakfast bags to go out to the families. And I was like, oh, they fell out of the sky and, saved a lot of time. So.
Great.
We'll do it. Yeah. Great. Props.
All right, I'll try to match that. I know I can't, but I will try to walk you through our budget as quickly as possible. While she's pulling it up, I'll just start talking because the first couple slides, we always begin every single one of our budgets with a picture of our kids because that's our focus. As Dr. Huber just said a few minutes ago, it's always about the kids and that's our why, that's our focus. And just it recenters us as we start talking about the complexities of a budget. So again, it's hard to look at these beautiful kids and now we're going to talk numbers and things like that that aren't always as much fun. So, okay. I'll just resend it. And if you guys want, here's a copy. I'll just keep going in the interest of time. Patty will resend it to both of you just in case. That way you can pull it up fresh. All right, so we're going to begin tonight with enrollment and the local composite index. Just a reminder of those two pieces because they drive the budget. So our enrollment is based on the ADM, the average daily membership. The first graphic that you see there is from the Weldon Cooper Center, which is out of UVA. They do a lot of population studies and things for school divisions across the state for a variety of different organizations. What this particular picture shows is the population change from 2020 to 2023. And you can see there that for Page County, it declined from about 0 to 2%. So what this graph just shows is across the state, you do see there is some growth in some areas and there's some decline in some other areas. Why does that matter? Because that obviously population impacts our enrollment trends. The next slide just shows the growth of concentrations were primarily in larger divisions, where rural divisions experienced the largest enrollment declines. So you can see there from the 2010s to present day in 2019, when this was put together, Page County decreased the enrollment decline from 5 to 10%. So just that information is important to know because, again, it affects our enrollment trends. So the next chart that you see shows our kindergarten enrollment, and that's Weldon Cooper gives us those data points starting from when a child is born to when they should enter kindergarten. And so what you're seeing, so for example, last school year, you'll see there that we had 221 students enrolled, and they predicted that we would have 221 kindergarten students enrolled. So just showing you that they're pretty spot on with their predictions. They said we would have 2,900 kids around that number, and we did. So we use that to kind of help guide us as we pick our ADM number, because the state assigns an ADM number, but we can adjust that based on what we think. And you've heard me talk about that before. So that chart just gives you some perspective. It lays out for you the next couple of years where we will see a little bit of a decline in those kindergarten students beginning to come in because of a decline in birth rates over time.
But for some reason, I thought we were going to see a little uptick because of the COVID babies.
Potentially, I don't think we're seeing it as much as we had hoped.
Okay.
Thank you.
Huh, I thought we were going to have one.
Yeah. You're good, thank you.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
All right, so the other piece, so that's one piece that plays into what we look at when we start trying to figure out our ADM number. And you all know that I tend to go a little bit conservative because we don't want to overestimate and then not have the enrollment for it. So we look at those pieces. We also look at this information, which is homeschool and religious exemptions. How many students, what's the trend there? So you can see that it's slowly, since COVID, it started to go up in terms of the number of students whose parents are choosing to either homeschool them or who are choosing to use a religious exemption. So this data is from the Department of Ed. So again, we look at that. And there are a variety of different reasons why a parent might choose to homeschool their child, but you can see that that trend is starting to go upward. So then that brings us to our average daily membership. So you can see over the past couple of years where we've been with our actual enrollment and then what we budgeted in terms of our ADM that we report to the state, because that ADM number is what they then assign the funding for. So last year, if you recall, we had a pretty complex conversation. We talked about going up. So we did. We went up to 2880, which was higher than we had been the year before. We're currently sitting at around 2928 based on fall membership with VDOE. However, given some of the changes that we're seeing, homeschooling, religious exemptions, the uncertainty of the Department of Ed, the executive order for school vouchers and school choice, we're going to recommend that we go a little bit more conservative this coming school year. So we're dropping that number down to 2830. And we just think it's a safe number. Yeah, it's a lot.
100 kids.
I think it's a safe bet for us. The good news is if we exceed that in enrollment, you get extra money. You can do some things with that, but Yeah, so this will be what you're seeing tonight, and you all can review all of this, and if you feel like we should go up a little bit, we can. This number won't be set in stone until we finalize the budget, but what we will do moving forward is present you numbers based on 2830, unless we otherwise, there's one or two slides later on that will show you that will be based on the state's number, but just know moving forward, it's based on 2830.
How is that number? How do you get to that number? Is it like all of the leadership team talking and
Yeah.
making some guesstimates, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly guesses to it because you never know what's going to happen. We also we also take current enrollment, you move those kids up a grade, and then you bring in your kindergarten.
Right.
And that gives you a roundabout number
Okay.
of to where. So we kind of start with that, and then we just have a feel, and I think it's just a kind of a gut feel, whether we think we should stay the same, maybe go higher. Like last year, we felt, let's go up a little bit. This year, we're really feeling like we should go down a little bit just to play it safe.
And we're taking a look at also the influx of people coming in from, because Northern Virginia folks are moving out here. But I guess most of them are probably retirees, they weren't, so they're no kids.
We do ask about housing developments, things like that. Are there any, apartments or new family neighborhoods that might be being built, things like that. So like 2 years ago when the new apartments and townhouses came up, we got an estimate of how many kids we might see coming from that.
And how close were we with that estimate?
Fairly close. They estimated around 200, 211, and I think we ended up with around 150, 175. I don't think there were as many kids as they had
That's a lot.
anticipated. That's the little bump that you're kind of seeing
Yeah.
there when we went
Yeah.
from the 3 to the 2.8.
That's interesting.
So, and I think I mentioned that, it's been on the books for years, I guess, that 300 house development over there. I don't know if it's ever going to be built or not, but that took place. That would really, really change our numbers,
Potentially.
And again, this is all just budget. So, this, we were to get an influx of students, then the state would fund us at that. Now it would be kind of towards the end of the budget season, because that's based on the March 30th ABM. And so we would see that towards the end of this.
And I think, this is just the proposed budget. There's a lot tonight that's going to change. We with budget numbers and all that, as the governor looks at amendments and things like that, these numbers are going to change. What we're doing right now is just our best guess as to where we are using those amended numbers from December. So we know that there's some things coming from the House and the Senate that are going to be to our advantage. We just don't know what they are yet. So if you have a sense that you feel that's too low, let's talk about it, and we can change it if you want to. So, and then the other critical pieces is just a reminder about this, because it does play into this as well as the local composite index. That's a huge part of their funding formula. And it's based on the economic indicators of the area, and it just represents the locality's ability to pay. So how much can the local board of supervisors, how much should they be able to support education with? It is re-benchmarked or reestablished every 2 years with the new biennial budget. So you can see where it was in 22, 24, and then where we are now for this budget. So it increased by a little bit. That meant that Page County had a slightly higher ability to pay. Just slightly. It's not a whole lot, but slightly higher ability to pay.
You guys take into consideration the $20 million surplus ahead in this?
We will get there.
Okay, good. I just hate, I didn't want to miss that in case anybody from the board supervisors
No, I think
is
that's a really
listening.
relevant piece of information, especially when we're talking about CIP.
Okay.
And just as a reminder to you all, because it's a year and a bit out now, but remember that JLARC study that came out in 2023 was huge, that we were severely underfunded. And that's important because one of the things they're looking at is the local composite index, and is that a fair measure of how to distribute funding across the state? So I think they're kind of in a little bit of a stalemate with it right now, but there is a committee that's looking just at the LCI up at the General Assembly. So that's good. How do we look in comparison to divisions around us? You saw this graphic last year, but you can see where we are in relation to, say, Rappahannock, who they'll argue a whole different conversation with you, because when you're at 0.8, you don't get a whole lot of state funding. And so that's where we land. And that will change next year if they remain and continue with LCI as a measure, because it'll be a new biennial budget next year. All right, so again, just remember what we're presenting tonight, these are all projections based on what we know at this moment in time. It's going to change. We'll reflect those changes and bring you all of that updated information as we go through it. Just a quick reminder, where does our money come from? So our revenue sources, they come from the state, the federal government, from miscellaneous or other sources, and then from our locality, the county of Page. There are 3 different areas where those funds are allocated. Fund 1 is the operating budget. That's the biggest. That's the one we'll talk about the most. Fund 2 is your capital improvement. We're going to be excited this year because we're making a new recommendation in that. We haven't been able to do that, but we will tonight. And then nutritional services, they have their own fund line. So just remember Fund 1, 2, and 5, most of our time is spent in Fund 1. For those contributing to the revenue, how much do they put towards our budget each year? So the state's contributing about 65% of our budget. The Board of Supervisors, the County of Page, is about 29%. Other or miscellaneous is 1%, and the federal government's around about 5%. And that'll fluctuate a little bit each year. In terms of projected revenue from state funding, so again, this is just Fund 1, and this is based on the governor's amended budget in December. So he did a 2-year budget. This was the 2nd year of that budget. So in December, he makes some amendments to it. Those then go to the House and the Senate. So these numbers are based on that amendment that he proposed. So it does provide us with additional funding in the amount of $1.4 million. However, the asterisk is there, and there's going to be a ton of asterisks throughout this. A little over $1 million of that is towards the compensation supplement for the 3% raise. So it really leaves us a little bit like $400 and some thousand that we can then use and apply in other ways. So that's good.
It's 2% from the state.
It's 3%.
So 3 and 3.
Say that again.
You said the 3% comes from local, right?
So we'll show you a slide in just a minute. 3% for SOQ positions comes from the state.
Okay.
Locality has to fund the difference.
Okay.
But it would be that across the board. 3%, we do 2 in a step because we've been working hard to preserve the steps. So in terms of local funding, so this would be from the Board of Supervisors. At this point in the budget season, we leave that as level funding because we don't know yet how much the state is going to give us and what we need. So in another couple of weeks, we'll make that into a number where we'll ask for additional funding. We're not going to leave it at level funding. We will ask for additional funding, but we need to let things kind of settle out a little bit more. And you all will look at the priorities and help give me some guidance as to where you want to go with some things.
So has there been a conversation about that with our local?
So we've talked a little bit. They're aware of the things coming from the state. They know that the 3% is there. They know that all of that's going to happen. Yeah.
Okay.
And they also know that a deeper conversation will come after we have this initial proposal, because I'm not going to give them any numbers yet until we talk and have information. So they're aware of that. In terms of federal funding, again, we also used a level funding because we don't know yet. Federal funding, a lot of that, we won't know until late in the spring and or sometimes not even till late summer. Like Title I, like Mr. Hopkins shared with you at the last work session, we may not even know the final allocation for that until October.
Right.
So we just kind of use those level funding numbers to move forward with things. And then as we get new numbers, we begin to update the budget numbers from there. So in terms of projected revenue, you can see here from last year's adopted budget to this year's projected budget, you can see at the state level, there's that increase of $1.4 million. Federal, other, and local all stay level for now. They may change. And so the total that we'll have this year is just over $43 million for Fund 1 from all of those revenue sources. So again, 1.4, a little over 1.4 million than we had last year. And we'll put the asterisk there that 1 million of that is towards the compensation.
And I'm sure you're going to address it, but CIP isn't even, we're not even
It's
in
coming
here.
down.
It's coming, okay.
This is
Can't
just
wait.
Fund 1.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
Is that
lot.
your question as
That
well?
was my question.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is just Fund 1.
Okay.
So now let's talk Fund 2. So that's your capital improvement fund. And so this year you will see we have added in $2.3 million. That is our ask for the locality that will go to the Board of Supervisors for capital improvement projects that we outlined in that CIP plan. And what we've done, we took all of the ones that were outlined in that plan initially for 2025, 26. We prioritized them on things that because the total was over $5 million. Was 5.6, I believe. We prioritized them based on age of the school, the necessity of them, the urgency of them. Some of them we've decided we'll push them out 1 year to wait for those 2 studies that we talked about. Because some of them wouldn't make sense to go ahead and spend $300,000 in a school until we know more information. So what these projects are, this will be the proposal that we submit, obviously with your approval, will be to fund these specific projects to $2.3 million. So we'll ask them to allocate that level of funding to us, knowing that these are estimates, right? We go get quotes and all that. We do our procurement, but the goal would be to have them fund us at $2.3 million. That'll be the ask for it. And they'll get a copy of this as well with the specific projects that have been earmarked for this coming school.
So you're just rounding. You say 2.3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rather than reading the
Yeah.
full number
Okay, good.
out. Yeah.
Just-
So does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
Where
that's
we're going.
in addition to what we are going to ask.
Absolutely. That's
Separate fund.
separate from Fund
This
1.
is fun too.
This is fund 2.
Yes. Drive that home
There
in my
will be
head.
another
Fun two.
local request of Fund 1 that will probably be a more instructionally based position.
Which, if I remember correctly in our CIP conversation, this is going to continue to increase with the age of our schools.
Absolutely. Yeah, 2.3 will fix some things, and if you look at it, the majority of them are at our high schools because they're our youngest buildings, so it makes sense to invest in them now.
Yeah.
Right? So that's sort of how that priority came down for that list. So that, again, that Fund 2, we're hoping to get full funding for that because that is one-time spending. It's not recurring. So that could come out, Mr. Overfelt, that could come out of that $20 million fund balance because they're one-time expenses. Next year, we'll come with a whole separate CIP list. It'll be a different number, be different projects.
And I see we've included the gym floor in here again, but for some reason, I thought we'd already had approval for the 60 for that gym floor, but we couldn't get to it because of bids with,
The Board of Supervisors never approved that resolution
okay,
on their end. You all did. both
last year.
times.
No, just
You did
recently.
just recently.
Well, you did,
You all
yes.
did in
Oh,
January.
last year, we,
Yeah.
okay.
You did in August.
January.
Mhm.
Right.
And then again.
That's what I thought.
Not January, I'm sorry. You did it in January this time, and then you
Yeah.
did again in July.
Okay,
The 60,000 and the 65.
right, but they never approved it, and that was the
Approved
problem.
either.
Now we're at the
Approved
65
one of them,
because of,
right? They asked you to come
No.
back.
They asked us to come back once, and then
Okay.
with no approval, no voting happened.
They pulled it off the last.
So we're working on a response to that because we believe that there's some information that needs to be shared and corrected for that. Because we asked for it out of the general fund balance. We did
Right.
not ask for it out of end of year funds for the division.
right, it seemed like there is some erroneous presentation there or something, I don't know.
I have a
I'll
question.
leave it at that.
It's a mandate that these floors have to be it's not.
Not a mandate.
It's just, okay.
But if you
So
want to keep your
recommendation. Right, if you want-
facilities, again, to keep your facilities
Right,
functioning in the
okay. And
proper
we're
manner.
overdue. Well, I was asked that question, is it a mandate? And I said, I'm not sure, I don't remember.
But it's that end of life idea,
Right.
that
Yeah, I
equipment or
understand.
something, right? We've exceeded the end of life, so they really need to be done.
Well, you don't want to get somebody to get hurt on that gym floor and then sue us.
You want to be able to use the
Yeah.
facilities.
Yes.
And the
if
longer
we're-
you wait, the more expensive it
Yeah,
becomes.
and the worse they're going to be.
So are we doing, this service not explaining the 5 million? Or whatever that was, the priorities and made the 2.3?
To you all or to the Board of Supervisors?
Both?
I think we can explain it, sure. We
I
can
think we
talk
should,
about
I
it.
think that should be part of the conversation. It's particularly with the board. I think it should be part of the conversation that, really we should be looking at a CIP of 5 million. But we're saying we're going to put priorities on 2.3.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, yes, because we'll have to remind them of the conversations that we had in January because of the conversation about doing those 2 studies and how important that information
Right.
was going to be to tell us more. So our suggestion at this point is to pause those, not get rid of them, just to pause them till we have more information. And then if it's decided that that's a good frugal use of those funds, we'll put them back on the table.
And that's a good narrative to have.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to ever look at, you get a plan and it says $5 million and the next year's, well, it keeps going up.
It's
It goes
7
down,
million or-
Right,
yeah.
7 million, 12 million, whatever. And we continue to do what we've done.
Right.
Patch things.
So I'm in my mind, I envision it just as a pause for a minute or two. Let's get a little bit more information and then we bring it back and decide, is it now or next year?
And that's the kind of conversation I would encourage you to have with them every single time you talk about it, because then it doesn't get lost in the backwash.
All right, so that's Fund 1 we've done, Fund 2.
Okay.
And then Fund 5 is the nutritional services. So based on Mrs. Seacrest and Mrs. Jeffries talking, the projected revenue in that area is just over $2.6 million. Again, that can fluctuate because there is some state funding that comes for it.
And that is no local funding. Fund 5 has no local funding, just state and federal.
I mean, that comes to us basically automatically based on LCI and ADMs and.
Yeah, I mean, part of it, if you, it's, you know,
Mainly
yeah.
based off of the number of meals served. So each meal we serve, we
Sure.
get reimbursed per meal. So it truly is based almost completely off of how many meals we serve to students or children.
Right. I guess I'm looking at all of our other numbers, our other population is coming down. Are we going to be serving more meals or less meals, or is it the cost of food has gone up? See what I'm saying? Because we're increasing $500,000.
Right. So that a lot of this has to do with our expansion of our summer feeding program. The fact that right now we are only actually feeding about 30% of our students breakfast and about
Really?
maybe 50% of our students are actually taking lunch. So
Huh.
our goal of trying to increase that participation between the students. So if we can get those numbers up, even with the enrollment possibly decreasing, we have a lot of room for growth of getting more federal reimbursement funds from serving additional.
Yeah, I guess I'm surprised we're only feeding 30% of our population breakfast. I thought we were feeding a lot more.
I would love to keep them.
No,
So please encourage
Yeah.
all students to get
Yeah.
a breakfast with us at our schools.
What's our lunch program for the summer now? What's it up to as far as meals? Do you have a rough number?
I believe we served close to 600,000 meals last summer.
600,000?
Yeah.
Wow.
And you were gracious enough to approve a second vehicle for us that we're
Yeah.
looking to outfit. So we're looking to be able to quickly expand that even more.
So that's 3 meals a day for
Two
meals a day, 7 days a
7
week.
days a week. So
Or-
breakfast and lunch a child 18 and under, they do not have to be a student of Page County Public Schools.
I was going to be my next
A
question.
child 18 and under can get 7 breakfasts and 7 lunches per week, all summer, 11 weeks of summer.
Okay.
So for example, that homeschool chart that Dr. Fox showed,
Right,
we
right.
could potentially be serving some of those students.
Yeah.
And
Based on the.
Yeah.
kids not enrolled yet that are.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if if you see the North Dakota legislature, they're actually trying to kill free lunches, period. So I hope that doesn't roll across the country. I mean,
there's a federal, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, there's a federal bill out there to change the CEP percentage, make it higher,
Right.
which would hurt a lot of school divisions,
Yeah.
us included. So we're hoping that doesn't pass and it leaves it at, is it 40%, Jenny?
It's currently 25, but that was supposed to start this summer. It's been 40,
Mhm.
and now they're trying to bump it to 50.
So we hope that one doesn't.
the kids can't learn if they're hungry. They goes without saying.
All right.
Thank you.
So in summary of projected revenues from all those funds, so your Fund 1, your operating, Fund 2, your capital, Fund 5, your nutritional services, you can see last year's adopted and then this year's projected. So again, just over $48.5 million to the plus right now of $4 million in expected revenue. And you can see again where that revenue is coming from in those different categories. Any questions about revenue? Okay there? All right, switch gears. Now you get money in, you got to send money out. So compensation, in the governor's budget, and it stayed in the amendment, it wasn't changed. It includes funding for a total of 3%. What we have been doing over the last few years is we take that and we do 2% and a step to keep people moving up on that step. We have to continue to be competitive in the region. Dr. Johnson's done a lot of work, and we're going to show it to you on looking at those regional comparisons we showed you last year. It's not going to be as great as we want it to be because everybody is outpacing us. When we give a 3, they're giving a 5. You can see here, Shenandoah is going above that. Warren is going above that. I was on a meeting today. Down in the Danville area, somebody's giving an 8% raise. Winchester, they have some folks that are going to be as high as 8 or 9%.
Yeah, but don't forget, Danville just opened a casino.
So yes, they can probably afford
They got a
some things
lot
that
of
we
money down
can't.
there right now.
But saying that, I want us just to keep the press on because we've got to keep, even though we have the great news of a 3%, because again, 5 years ago, none of this was on the table.
Right.
We want to keep pushing. I think we've got to push harder than 3.
That's what I was going to say. Problem is, because we've been behind, 3% in Page and 3% in Rockingham puts us further behind because they're higher already.
Sure.
3% of their higher salary is not equal to 3% of our.
We're never going to
so
catch up.
We're falling behind every time we match a neighbor. It's great to match, but with time, you get the gap gets wider.
Which has impact on recruiting, which has impact on retention.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep pushing in that area. And so you can see here, we've just given you a couple of numbers. So if we go 2% and 1, that's the baseline. That's what the state's covering, right? So we have full funding for that. If we move, giving you options, looking at it, you go 3% in a step. There's what the state would contribute towards that, and then what the local contribution would be. Because remember, state doesn't give you full funding for every employee. They do that SOQ funding. If we do 4% in a step, a little bit higher local contribution there, but you could get a 5. That would total a 5%. That would put a ding in some things. Wouldn't get us where we want to be, but it would certainly gain a little bit of ground, especially if divisions near us stay at 3% or like Rockingham at 1%. So I'm going to recommend at this point with this budget proposal that we go with 4 and a step. And we would be then asking for a local contribution of $273,000 for that piece of it. Does that make sense? Now we can go higher. Ms. Seacrest has numbers for, 6, 7, 8%. We decided to move with 4 for now. So if you want to see higher numbers, you can. Know that local contribution will go up. The state stays the same.
Well, I know these are initial numbers, and I hope we're not taking too much time here, but it's key. You're recruiting, trips, and so forth. Would 4% in the step help us in our recruiting?
It would. Again, you just don't know. And I mean, we all make the decision at the same time. Local governing bodies make the decision at the same time. So, you don't know for sure 4%, 5%, what's Rockingham, Shenandoah, what are they doing? We know early what they're doing, but 100%. Anytime, I was at a recruiting fair today and had conversation with potential hires out of JMU. And I said to them, our budget process, we are hoping for 3% or 4%, and I was showing them what that number could look like. And, and when you're coming right out of college and you see a number and then the employer says, well, we're going to go for more, that would be very helpful. Selling our culture is just as helpful too. So.
Yeah, I mean, we only have 6 stoplights in this county. That's huge. I think you beat the table with that.
And other divisions are at the same place. They're working with their local bodies right now to say, can we do a 3? Can we do a 4? What can we do? So everybody's kind of in that same little boat right now where we want certain things, but we're not sure where we're going to land yet. In terms of classified adjustments, we've also been over the past couple of years really trying to have an impact there for those staff. So that's your custodians, your secretaries, your bus drivers, your maintenance staff. In FY23, we unbanded those steps. Just to give you the history quickly, we implemented consistency between the steps and we adjusted for minimum wage. And then on top of that, there was a 6% plus a step. So it equated to a 7% raise. In FY24, we added additional compensation to all the steps, and then we did 4% and a step, so a 5% total there. And in FY25, if you recall last year, we had lots of discussions about this. We added additional compensation, so it was not only just the 2% raise, the step. We then added $1,000 to each of those steps as well, or those positions as well. So that's where we landed last year. This year, we obviously want to continue and make more adjustments to the identified positions in the scale. We may have to make another adjustment to the minimum wage to get up to that 15. We're very close to that in almost every position, but there are some where we'd have to make some minor adjustments. The cost of that is to be determined, and I'll explain why there isn't a number attached there in just a minute, but that one we'll have to look at and see based on some other factors that I'll share with you in just a second. So any questions about the adjustments to classify? So now when we talk about where do we want to go based on our budget priorities, we talked about those at the last meeting. And these are based on Mrs. Seacrest and I and Dr. Huber and Dr. Johnson and some of the directors. We meet individually with each principal. We meet with each department or supervisor head. We talk about what are the things that they need. And these are now mostly the staffing requests, not the maintenance types of things or the CIP types of things. So from that, we then generate a list of all those things. And then we have to start prioritizing and trying to figure out what are the things that are absolutely essential, what are the things that we'd really like, and then what are the things that we hope to get. So right now, they're just listed for you. There's no priority order to this. But we know with the VLA, it's moving up next year to grades 4 through 8. We'd like to put reading specialists in at both the middle schools. So that would be 2 FTEs, and we'll show you costs in just a minute. We'd like to help out each school and add another instructional assistant at each elementary, middle, and high school. That's just somebody else to help with all those different academic needs, with the remediation, with small group work that might be done. So that would be 8 FTEs. Years ago, each front office at the elementary school had 2 secretaries to help with the numerous things there. The current secretaries are also the bookkeepers. So we'd like to add at each of those front offices an elementary front office secretary and also help with the clinic. Sometimes there's a mad rush at the clinic. This person could go and assist, or might be the person that goes in every day to allow that person to have lunch uninterrupted, things like that. So that person would be sort of in a split role. Just like with VLA, go ahead.
So on the school nurses, and everybody, there's emergencies that happen. And there's times when somebody just needs to have a day. I believe I've heard that a school nurse might be out and one of the secretaries have to go over and do some of that nursing.
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah. So the question would be, and we have various students with various things, like a lot of medication, feeding tubes. What risk do we have, Dr. Johnson, with someone who is a secretary? You may not feel comfortable doing it, going over there and doing those kind of things.
So we have several substitute nurses. That's our priority. We don't ever want what you just described to occur, but reality is we had one of our go-to sub-nurses that ended up having to work at one particular school for an extended amount of time. We just onboarded another RN 2 weeks ago in the sub-pool.
In the sub-pool?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have several fully licensed nurses in the substitute pool.
challenge is when they're not available, and you can't create them. So at that point, yeah, there are some staff in school that are trained, that work with the nurses daily and understand that there's occasion when they're going to get called up and need to assist. Because you legally can't tell a child to stay home on that day that the nurse is absent, and you hope your sub-nurses are available and you have enough. You know, if we have 4 sub-nurses and we have 5 nurses out on a given day, so it's a great, valid question.
Yeah.
And it's a real situation.
It's very real.
Yeah.
So just
Sure.
What insurance risk are those folks at, or
Yeah,
liability
they're
risk?
covered. Our VACOR, we're covered in regards to making sure that they've been prepared by the standing nurse. While they're not credentialed, we are covered from a professional point of view. If something were to go awry, you've got the Good Samaritan Act that can say you were there when the nurse wasn't available and you did the best that you could. But it doesn't feel good. I don't know for sure if I'm not there in the buildings, but I would like to say that we wouldn't have somebody do that who has said I'm uncomfortable or not sure. I hope not. And I hear you say maybe that's occurred. And if it has, talk to me offline because I'd like to know.
I would do that.
Yeah. We have a lot of really good staff members who are willing, and we try not to use them. We have to.
Because there's certain schools, I'm sure, that have a higher need for a nurse.
Sure, but there's certain medical situations.
Yeah.
But they all have it. They all have a feeding tube or a diabetic, insulin injections.
Right.
Every school has its own unique health situation with students. And your nurses, when on the sub list, sometimes they'll sign up and say, these are the schools I'll serve. I can think of one in particular that's wonderful, but probably has never been to a southern school because it's so far away from home. They're not interested in being a southern living nurse that far. So, you're at the beck and call a bit of available credentialed people.
So some of our students that are in the nursing program, are they eligible to be a substitute? Could they be pulled out of that?
No, because they're minors still, adult age.
But that's the line of thinking I was just going down. What about their instructors?
Yeah, well,
Their instructors are nurses.
They're teaching.
I know, but if you had an emergency somewhere.
Well, sure.
They
Yeah.
could go to there.
Yeah.
And could the
So I'll
secretary?
give you an example. We have had the nursing instructors respond quickly to a technical center emergency because they're right there, common sense. If it was something at a further distance, the calls go 911.
Could they give some of the secretaries some instruction?
Well, I'll give you another example. I'm just sitting there thinking of examples. We have had school nurses cover another school, planned ahead, one nurse to another. Cindy Thomas is our lead. So typically when things such as this occurs and the nurse knows it's pre-planned, often they'll call Cindy and say, on this date, I'm unavailable. This is going on with this student. And I've seen Cindy go and cover other schools. I've seen a nurse from a school go to, one of the middle schools. But that's hard because they've got their own group of students to care for and their own unexpected, maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. There's good cooperation, but it's a challenge when somebody's out.
I would ask that we consider a nurse that can float, be a full-time position. Right? That would be an extra that could cover those schools that have high needs. I know there are certain schools that probably have that. And then we would always have someone there. I would ask that you look at that as far as the budget goes.
If you can make it happen in the budget, I know a nurse that would love a job right now. So, yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
It'd be wonderful. Thank you for suggesting that. It'd be great.
Thank you.
So in alignment with the VLA, there is legislation likely coming in the next year for math. So same thing that's happened with the Literacy Act, there'll be a math act. So in anticipation of that, elementary principals, rightfully so, are asking for math specialists at the elementary schools. Regardless, there's still a need for math. But it, again, with that Virginia Math Act potentially coming, there likely will be a requirement that you have math specialists, unfunded, of course, but likely that you have those math specialists. So if we can get ahead of that, let's get ahead of that, and it would bring an extra resource in at the elementary level.
Do you want 4?
Yeah, 4, yep, sorry, I'll fix that to put, 1 at each elementary school. The one at the bottom, the data support specialist, that's one we've been trying to get in the budget now for a number of years. That would not only do the important Power School student management work, but also help in the area of just data management, procurement, dissemination across the division, helping pull all these variety of different pieces of data in. Dr. Huber and his team are looking at a tool that you'll be very pleased with, about metrics and data.
Good.
But this person would help with that because there is so much data out there. There's so much reporting that's required. You all know that Mr. Samples does this in conjunction with his role as the Director of Technology. So that position is in the budget. That's one FTE for that. Again, we're going to come back with a division social worker position because we feel that that's just important given the ever-present needs of our students and our families. HVAC specialist, we're recommending this just because so many of our systems now are technology driven. And because of the upgrades that we've done, there's now a need to really manage those systems in a different way. It's not just about fixing them and having the knowledge and skill set. While our guys do, and they do a great job, it's also about managing the back end technology of all of those systems. So that would be 1 FTE in the maintenance department. Currently, our students can opt to take behind the wheel. So that's the mentored part where they're learning to drive with an instructor. Right now, it's happening after school only. And so there's some students that just doesn't work for in their schedules because they might be participating in activities or athletics. High school principals have asked that we consider a part-time position that could be during the day. So a student might, be pulled out of a class with parent permission and consent, but they would then do their behind the wheel during the day in order to get their license. And we feel that this is important because getting that license is critical, especially for some of our kids. It's going to open doors for them in the future. So we want to help and make sure that kids are getting their license.
How many hours do you have to have behind the wheel to get a license?
Remember, do you
Wait,
know,
I'm-
Mr. Runyon?
This is driver's ed, right?
Yes.
Yeah. This is the behind,
Behind the wheel.
this is not the classroom portion. This is just the actual driving.
This is the actual on the road part.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any hours?
We
They
did.
used to.
So it used to be during PE.
Yeah.
Back
What about
in the day.
Well, I thought
We got pulled for PE, and then Paige, I believe, did have a teacher who was able to do it during the day.
It's approximate. This is an approximate, it's about 30 hours. So
Behind the wheel?
Seat time in the
With
vehicle.
the instructor. Now, I know as parents who just went through this, we also had to fill out a log. I think that was 40 hours, wasn't it? Of detailed time from the book that said you drove with your student working on these sections for this amount of time on this
How many
date.
times a day?
Yeah, dark. And, yeah.
I've been driving a long time.
Was there a summer program?
My kids
They
learned how
do
to drive
driver
it
ed
away.
during
We do
summer?
do it.
Okay, behind the wheel. I thought you did. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, VDETS has a summer
Right.
online if you don't have the classroom piece, and then our staff do
Gotcha.
provide it. So there is that option.
Right.
Right, yeah. And then the last one here is the division safety officer, and that one, we talked about this last year. There is a grant program out there. The county is submitting the application again through the Department of Criminal Justice where they would partially fund it, we would partially fund it, but you would have somebody whose sole focus is just on school safety and security. Typically, I don't know, Dr. Johnson, I don't think it's a full-time position, correct?
It would be a full-time position. The grant that was submitted equated to a supervisor position that we already have in place. And the percentage was somewhere around 80% grants and 20% local match, something to that extent.
84.
So if you-
Well, since I've read it, but I
Yeah.
think that's it. Yeah.
So if you take all of those things, and again, remember, think Fund 1, And so what we've put here are the estimated costs for those. And those costs include salary and benefits. So for your middle school reading teachers, 2 FTEs, you can see the different amounts there. So in total, all of those positions are just over $1 million. That doesn't mean that we're going to get all of those. It doesn't mean that we're going to have funding for all of those. But again, we don't know yet a solid number from the state, and we will ask for some of these positions from the locality. So what I'd like for you guys to do is take this, think about it, let us know. You did this last year. We sent it out to you. We asked you to prioritize those for us so that as we start to dwindle down on how much money do we have, we know which of those positions to pull from. Okay? Any questions there?
Now, what you need to add in the nurse.
Yes, I made notes. Yes.
Okay.
Anything, directors, you guys want to add anything to any of that? Trying to keep you awake. All right, and then there's always this fun slide, which is probably the worst one of all. This is the additional costs that come just from running a business, which unfortunately we're about kids, but we're also a business that has a budget. The bad news this year, the horrible news this year, is our insurance is estimated to be at an 18% increase. We were praying it would come in at 11. When he said 11, I didn't accept that, but now I definitely don't want 18. But I know we probably won't get 11. It is estimated to be around 18. That's going to cost $802,000 if we absorb all of that cost. So Mrs. Sullivan Smoot and Mrs. Bryant, I have a tentative time that I'll email you all. We'll get that insurance committee together. They're going to present different options to us as to how we can look, what can we do to reduce that cost. So we have to look at that. So that number will come back to you with more information about insurance. We'll get a verified number probably in the next couple of weeks, but that's been what we've been advised as our increase. So that's the bad news.
The 802 is the 18%.
Yes.
Do you remember I asked that question on Wednesday? What their insurance increase was?
Yes.
I thought you said 12.
She said, I think 9. She said she thought 12, but then she said 9.6, I think is where they landed.
Really?
9 point something.
How'd they get down so low?
It's all about your experiences and
Claims experience in the
claims.
prior year. If you have any major catastrophic event with a family, goes into your claims, plays into your next year.
Yeah, group also works on a age span too, on your age of your population.
That's correct. In our population, we have many that are
older, and then we have some that are just starting families, so you have maternity leave that plays into that as well.
Yeah.
All of this, the higher population of female employees for maternity, that kind of thing.
Not fair.
So we'll bring the full board more details about that. But we will have a smaller committee working on that. Utilities and contracts, each year we estimate a 10% increase there. You can see that number. Fleet management is what Dr. Johnson presented a couple of weeks ago. $80,000 investment in that. We could get 11 brand new vehicles through that fleet management program. So we've placed that in here now as a consideration because you can't buy 11 vehicles for $80,000. So that would put 11 brand new vehicles on the road for our students on July 1, essentially.
we came up with 11 because we have 11 that are approaching 270,000 miles on them, each one, and we're still using them daily to transport, and so it's very important.
We talked last year about needing additional O&M budget allocations just because of the age of our buildings. You all know, you've seen the purchase orders this year. Nothing is getting cheaper and the needs are getting higher. So we're including a $250,000 increase there in that line item. Massanutten Regional Governor's School, they asked us, we made it known that we wanted an extra seat. There was one available. So we've included that in there. We'll have to adjust that number based on our meeting on Wednesday. They are going to offer a tuition reduction because their fund balance is a little bit higher. So I believe it was $700.
$709.
Per student reduction. So that'll actually probably wipe that out.
For at least 2 years.
For at least 2 years. Mhm. And the good news is we get another seat in that program. So we'll keep pushing for another one next year.
Right.
We have included in here, because of some requests for some other larger items, such as instrument replacement, You can imagine how much a tuba or one of the bigger drums. Yeah, they're not cheap. And so we felt it fair to put in here a line item for the fine arts programs for things like that when they need to be replaced. Typically, that money comes out of sometimes your instructional line, but we want to write in a line, and this money would be distributed for the fine arts across the 8 schools. We recognize that it's a little bit, but we'll start there and build that amount up. Same thing for the athletic programs in terms of support. Our boosters are doing a great deal. And some of these things we need to be absorbing as a locality. So we've put an increase in there for athletic programs. So all of those additional costs for those items comes to just under $1.4 million. So again, we'll have to do, obviously we can't prioritize health insurance. We know we have to have it, but we'll do some things to see how we can manage that amount. The other things on there, some of those we'll have to decide whether we want to continue with them based on funding that might become available. So we'll come back to some of those. Any questions there? All right, so this big fun number, compensation increase is $1.2 million. Staffing needs, those are those additional positions, is $1 million. And then those additional costs, which includes that health insurance, is just under $1.4 million for a total of $3.7 million. That's where we start. Remember last year I said, don't panic. These big numbers are going to come right now. We'll work things as we start to get a clearer picture of funding. So in terms of total revenue, and I really don't want you to panic on this slide, because again, this is just the initial, where are we based on the numbers that we know right now. So total revenue, you're looking at $1.4 million. And this is just Fund 1. And then your total expenditures are $3.7 million. That puts you at a deficit of $2.2 million. So if you wanted every single thing that was on there and we paid the full premium for the health insurance, we'd have to find or request funding for $2.2 million or get additional funding from the state.
2.3,
Yeah. So what this doesn't reflect right now is an increase in local funding. Remember, we kept that flat for now. That will go up. We're going to ask for additional funding. And then any increases from the General Assembly, we know that there were Senate and House. They came to an agreement. One of the big things that we're waiting to see what the number is, they completely removed the support cap. That's wonderful news for school divisions. We've been waiting for that for a long time. That will likely bring us a good chunk of funding. We don't know what that is. We haven't gotten the tool yet. Governor has to approve it. He may veto it. He may amend it, but we'll wait to see where that lands. But that is good news for school divisions. It does reflect all the things that we would like. So this is obviously there's more, but this is the list right now of all of those things. And again, these numbers are also reflecting that ADM count of 2030.
2830, and I just went in and changed it on the slide.
Thank you,
It's
sorry.
okay.
Holy cow.
No, okay.
Good. Holy smokes, 2030, good grief. That would be like $7 million. Thank you. All right, so what's next with this? So the governor, the General Assembly this past Saturday, they did conclude their session. Governor Youngkin is now reviewing all of that new legislation and budget amendments. They are scheduled to reconvene on April 2nd. We are hoping that between that time and the next month or so, there will be things that he'll say he approves or he's sending them back, and we'll have some more information on those things. So there is some legislation out there that may bring additional costs. There's some things like about diabetes care and things like that may, again, unfunded mandates that we as a locality may have to pick up some of the costs of those. So important calendar dates for you all. Our next meeting, we will have a budget for approval with you. We'll have some conversations before then, but just remember, we know we'll have to come back with amendments and revisions. So no matter what we approve, we have to do that because we've got to present to the Board of Supervisors. We know that there will be amendments that come after that. And then it just gives you an idea of the other meetings that'll happen based on their schedule and our schedule. And again, all of that, you all know this from the last 2 years, all that's contingent on the state. Anything else to add? Any questions?
Which of those dates do you, without the regular meeting,
The 20th is probably the next one that's not a regular scheduled meeting for you. That's when we will present our budget to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
That's at their work session. Right now on their webpage, it says 7, but I think sometimes they do run their work sessions earlier. So we'll get a confirmed time for you on that.
And then, you need to be available on the 11th and the 21st?
Those are your regular meetings.
Regulars, okay, yeah. Yeah.
The question on that. So this is all public record stuff, and when the new superintendent link comes out to apply, is some of this stuff going to be available to them? Okay.
Sure, it's posted on it'll be on Board Docs.
Yep.
And then it's also, we have the budget page where we try to post as we move through each of the different
Yeah, I think it's be good information.
Absolutely.
Know for sure. Yeah.
We can add it to that superintendent search page if you would like.
I think that would
We can certainly do that.
make it easier. You know?
All right, so we'll come back in a couple weeks with different numbers. Hopefully we'll have more information, and then we'll be reaching out to you for some conversations about other things. Okay. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Good enough. Thanks.
Ms. Seacrest, claims for payment?
Yes, good evening, board members. You have been provided with the claim certification where the operating fund is $322,110.26. Food service fund, $21,159.39 for total expenditures of $343,269.65. Along with that, you have the list of claims as well as the check registers. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the claims for payment as presented.
Second. A motion by Mr. Painter and a second by Ms. Bryant to approve the claims for payment as presented. Anybody have any questions?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Ms. Seacrest, POs over 10,000?
Yes, we do have 2 purchase orders for your consideration this evening. The first one is using Title II federal funding for staff training. That is staff training of Mount Carmel staff. That is the private school set-aside portion of that federal grant that we have to do. And then the other is state grant funded out of one of the grants that Dr. Huber presented to you all last time for the literacy grant. That's decodable readers. They would be using those funds. And I believe we'd be getting about 183 reader packs for the invoice that we have.
I'll make a motion to, I'm sorry. I make a motion that we approve the POs for over $10,000 as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Painter and a second by Ms. Sullivan Smoot to approve the POs over 10,000.
Yes.
You have a question?
No.
Oh, I thought you had a question.
No, I was just gonna.
Oh, you were going to motion.
That's right.
Gotcha. Mr. Painter.
Yes.
Ms. Bryant.
Yes.
Mr. Rutherford.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smoot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Bell, copier vendor.
Good evening, board members. I'm coming before you tonight to discuss 34 of our 41 multifunction printers, also known as copiers, are coming up they're at the end of their 5-year lease, and I'm going to take a moment just to hand out some figures for you to look at.
Thank you.
There are a lot of numbers on that handout. I want you to, if you wouldn't mind paying some attention to what's highlighted, but I do have some talking points that I'd like to go over. Like I said, we have a 5-year lease on 34 of our 41 copiers that is coming up for, it's the end of the lease. And what we are recommending is that we continue with our current vendor, who is Ricoh. And it's important to note in this process, and you can see this from the handout, we didn't just automatically go with them because they said, hey, here's what we'd like to do the next 5 years. we wanted to make sure that we were looking at some multiple proposals, just really as part of due diligence, ensuring that we're looking at pricing, supply ordering, service experience, what our experience has been with our current vendor, as well as the impact on Page County Public Schools facilities and personnel as components of really what is the best value for us as a school division. And we had proposals for partial replacement, which is, or partial update on the lease, which is just on the 34 ones that are coming off lease this year. Also, we had some options for full replacement of all 41 of the copiers. Challenging to look at some of these different proposals, but we also had proposals that included every machine being color, every machine being black and white, except for a couple of machines. But the reason for going with Rico, very specifically, several points here. They're offering us, again, unlimited black and white copies. Color copying is limited to just a couple of machines. That's going to be very easy to monitor, as opposed to every machine in the division having color capabilities. Some of our vendors, and you see this looking at the handout, where you see black and white cost has a dollar amount with it. They're doing like per copy pricing, as opposed to saying it's a set amount and you have to then deal with monitoring for an overage, as we have with one of our proposals. Another proposal is literally every single copy is a charge. So there's some challenge with having to monitor that. It's going back to the meter counts. And I remember being in a building and having to deal with the meter counts and addressing that at the building level. There's no efficient way, really, especially when you're monitoring every single count. There's no efficient way, really, at this point that we could handle that, because the numbers that you're seeing for some of those, where you're looking at, particularly on that bottom row with the black and white and color costs, and you'll see the note there that that's an estimate. We'd have to have some type of print management software. Some vendors were quoting about $600 a month for that, and even if we could get it at less of a price, that's still an additional expense that the school division would have to bear, that we don't need that right now. That probably could be a nice little want in the future, but we don't need that right now with our current setup. But we would need that if we went to paying by the copy. Along with that, when you go to that type of system, the IT department has to be even more involved than they are now. And so this is a little bit of an ease on their hours and time management as well. Pricing by the copy moves us from an annual bill to a monthly bill. And when you're doing that, and we all know what happens in July and especially in October when the teachers come back, that bill is going to be much bigger than it's going to be at other times. Mm-hmm. The other issue is it's going to fluctuate. So for the finance department, right now we're doing one bill plus we're paying for the cost of color copies. If we went to paying by the copy, we're looking at a very different amount every month, very difficult to budget, difficult for the finance department, and it's kind of appropriate. We're talking about the budget going forward, especially into the next years. That's difficult to really give the finance department a good estimate of what that expense is going to be. So this really locks in, except for that little bit of color cost, it locks in a really good number for the next 5 years that's really going to help with planning. We're going to have a minimal amount of disruption to the schools in this process because we wouldn't be updating everybody. It would be the majority of them, and we would be getting new machines. But it would be less disruptive than if we did everybody. All of our address books and what they refer to as the easy buttons that have gotten set up for, like, oh, I want to scan this to this person's email address and things like that. All of that is just going to move from one machine to the other, very seamless. So it's going to help out the ID department quite a bit. Along with that, our bookkeeping staff, both at the school level and the division level, is already familiar with how to order the supplies and with that billing process. So there's not going to be really any big change there. Service calls and ordering, and I've confirmed this with some schools and with Mr. Williams as well. It's been very reliable. We've had very few issues, and when we have those issues, they get addressed in a timely manner. And a lot of it is just about understanding how to do certain things with the ordering the right way. In fact, ever since we fixed that, I haven't heard anything from any of the schools. So that's been really good. And my final point, which you have bolded up there at the top, if you look at the current cost with RICO compared to what the new cost would be, with I think a pretty good estimate of what the color cost would be going forward for the next few years, that is an 8.3% decrease over what we are currently paying per year, and that is without sacrificing overall device functionality. So I think that's a very good option to go with. It's very fixed. It really meets our criteria, and it's less disruptive to our staff and to our schools in general. So what we're asking for is your approval for accepting their 5-year lease proposal on those 34 multifunction printers. And I'll do my best to answer any questions that you may have.
I make a motion that we approve this purchase for this copier vendor as presented. I think it's a good deal. Looks like a good deal.
Second. A motion by Mr. Overfelt, second by Ms. Bryant, to approve the copier vendor to stay with RICO as presented. Any questions?
Yes.
Ms. Bryant?
Yes.
Mr. Overfelt?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Wood? Yes. Thank you.
All right. Good job. Save some money.
Dr. Fox, strategic plan.
Yes, I will be brief with this, but what I wanted to share with you and I bring to you for approval because of a couple of changes that we've made to the strategic plan. You have a copy of this is the version that's on the web page, so it's the public facing portion of it. As well as I want to thank Dr. Huber. He has created a document. You also have a copy of it that would also become a public facing. It's a much more appealing view of our strategic plan. It includes pictures of our kids and reminds us of our why. But the major reasons why I bring it to you for approval is I want to make a recommendation, or I'd like to make a recommendation to you all that we change the name. When we started this, we named it Aspire 2029. We started this year with Positive Pathways, and it's just really taken a hold. It's, I think, something we all go back to. I know we talk about it in our meetings all the time. So I'd like to recommend that we change the name of the strategic plan from Aspire to Positive Pathways. And that being one of the bigger changes, we've taken that graphic and applied it to the strategic plan. Also, there are updates in Goal 1. There's some specific changes we made about special education. In Goal 2, there's more information about transportation and nutritional services. Goal 3, we reflect the changes there, reflect some of the suggestions made by staff. We've done a full edit for grammar, for spelling, for mechanic. We've done some AI work with it to make sure that its clarity is there in terms of the wording. Again, we created this booklet style, which will grow, but it's a great start to a public-facing piece of it. And we're updating those accompanying data sheets. Those are kind of the background pieces that go with each of those essential actions. What's the data behind all of those? And so since we're changing the name and we've made some updates, I would just ask for your approval tonight of this more recent updated version of the strategic plan.
I'll make a motion that we accept the name change for the strategic plan as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Sullivan Smith and a second by Mr. Overfelt to accept the name change and the other additional changes.
Yes.
As presented. I think the name change
I like the booklet. This is good. Nice graphics.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Overbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Ms. Dawes?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. It is posted currently on the webpage, but we'll add the other piece there to it. So it's currently on your board page is where the strategic plan is located, but it is posted there. All right, last thing I have, and I hope that this is the last calendar adjustment that we need to make for this school year, but I bring you one more calendar change based on the instructional time that we lost just recently, again, to inclement weather, recommending that we make Monday, April 7th, a full student day. It was previously a student holiday. It was a work day for some parent-teacher conferences and for kindergarten registration. Our instructional team has worked. We can still do those parent conferences and registration during the school day. We'll provide some substitutes in the buildings, but we feel it's important to go ahead and pull that day back and make it an instructional day. So I do ask for your approval tonight for one more amendment to the calendar that we make Monday, April 7th, a full student day. And hopefully no more inclement weather. No more.
I make a motion that we approve the calendar adjustment for April the 7th.
Second.
The motion by Ms. Sullivan Smoot and a second by Mr. Painter to approve the calendar adjustment for April 2nd. Mr. Overbaugh?
Yes.
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 Great. Thank you all, and thank you to the instructional team for their work to make this day work, and our principals and teachers.
Board member comments?
Well, thanks for all the posters that were
Yeah.
put up for us. Some of them a big kick tonight. Sorry, but it's
It's
good.
wrinkled, too.
It's good stuff. Appreciate it. And the candies were great. I probably needed some of that tonight. And I think the presentation from the Red Middle was good. I continue to be impressed with these. I think we did the right thing by going with these reports outs. I think it's been good stuff. And the work with the host students with the special ed was wonderful. It's precious. And I would say this, that appreciate all the teachers and all those principals in the schools. I think making our students feel wanted and needed and special is important. And there's times that we get down, but you need to reach out and reach out to somebody that can help you get it back up. And I encourage you to get your school activated with that. Depression's a real thing. And when we lose young people, it's a sad thing. And I spent a lot of time today with a family that has done that. No, it's very sad. But as we continue to encourage our students, live life to the full. And you only have right now. There's no other time. You can't repeat tomorrow. Yesterday, you don't know about tomorrow.
Yeah.
You have right now. So thank you all.
Thank you for the posters and the candy, everything. I mean, it just made you smile as soon as you walked in here tonight. So I do appreciate that. And it's always great to hear from the students, leading with the pledge, and then Joey Miller for sharing the breakdown of everything that's happening. I mean, they are busy. They are very active. They are really putting into their community. That was exciting, and it was really impressive, the amount of students that they have really gotten into this, and I'm grateful for that. Baker, it was great to hear. I know that we talked briefly about this coming up back in the summertime, and this was really exciting. When I saw this happen tonight, I was really excited to hear about that. I know that has been a big undertaking, and thanks to Dr. Fox for seeing the need to make this move and giving them their own space. This is fantastic, not just for them, but for our community and what they're already pouring into it as far as helping. It's great. It is really good. You guys are busy. Thanks for your time. And Hope that your Friday is nice and smooth.
Take it.
Yeah. It's almost a weekend, isn't it?
We're close.
Yeah, so the posters, the appreciation of the appreciation for the board, we really appreciate that. I know that's a lot of commentary about that. But we appreciate you. Ms. Jeffries, thank you so much for that information. You know, I don't think sometimes we fail to give you all the credit you need for all the meals you're teaching. And I didn't realize we're only feeding 30% for breakfast, so maybe I can help you over there and run around the school in some kind of costume and see if I can't get kids to be more interested in breakfast. Breakfast is an important meal. I like it. But I didn't realize we were doing 600,000 meals in the summertime. I mean, the community ought to sit up and take notice. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of food, and we are taking care of the county in a lot of ways. It's really impressive. The amount of work that goes on in the back, in the behind the scenes, that goes on from the operations side, the instruction side. Sometimes it gets lost in the, I think, in the shuffle. And you really deserve a big pat on the back for everything you're doing, and the CFO working on these budgets. I mean, oh my gosh. It's like a busy season. We're going to have to, I think we're going to have to strap in, because it's going to be an interesting time in the next couple of months to see if we can't get this money. And I do hope that the Board of Supervisors are listening to some of these meetings, and I hope they are paying attention that we are the largest employer in the county. We are training our future. We are making sure that the future of Page County is set with the education of our children. The Next Page program, what a fantastic program for, I didn't even realize we were doing that. I apologize. I didn't know, but I'm really impressed with that, because it's teaching young people who need the assistance and the help so they could live a productive adult life. What an amazing program. But yeah, so thanks to everybody thanks for playing. It's late.
Great presentations tonight. I just want to echo, I would like for the post-grad program to maybe be presented to the Board of Supervisors so that they can actually see just one more great thing that this school system is doing, and what an important process that is. And I'm very proud to say I am a member of the Page County School Board, because there's lots going on here, and a lot of people have no clue. Now, I don't mean any disrespect to them, but they really don't. Until you are involved in it and see, you have no way of knowing. So the more we can put it out there and let people know what we're doing, I would like to see that. So, and I just want to say one more thing. When you were talking about all the activities at Luray, I want to recognize one of the former graduates of Luray High School, Emily Weekly. She is in her senior year at Frostburg State University in West Virginia. In 2 years, she has scored over 2,000 points. She has broken the record, or has set a record that's never been set at Frostburg. She's been the state most valuable player for 2 years. And it is just amazing what she did at Luray, and then to take it further to Frostburg. And her grandmother and I graduated together, so I keep up with all this stuff. But, you know, that's just something else. And so I'm sure the Page News does an article or will be doing something or what have you, but I just got all this information, and I just felt like we needed to share it because she's one of ours. And she will graduate in May or June, and she's going in the medical field. So.
And Luray won.
Yep.
Yep.
Ray won.
Oh,
Congratulations to Luray boys basketball.
All right.
Good job.
Going to regional.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to the final, right? Regional.
They'll play at Shenandoah University Saturday night.
That's cool. It's a nice gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I echo everything, thank you. This was a long meeting, so if anybody's still watching, thank you. Bridget, thank you. You have school tomorrow. Sorry it is a little bit late. It's way past my bedtime. But, and I do apologize again that we started late, but this time of year, it's budget season, superintendent search season. So things are going to take a little bit longer. On that subject, the surveys are live. There's a superintendent search button on the website. There's surveys out there for the community and for staff. We have gotten a decent number of responses, but we want to hear from everybody. So please, they're open through March 2nd. So if you haven't done that, make sure you get on and fill that out because we want to know what you think. And we're looking at it. But other than that, you know, I get up at like 4 a.m. So 9/11 is way too late. So thank you all.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
There we go. A motion and a second to adjourn.
Yes.
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 Yes.